Hi, everybody. I'm going to do a quick uh, sort of highlights of the very long paper I wrote for this retrospective workshop. Yeah, I framed it as what advice would I give a starting graduate student interested in robot learning. This is going to be so fast that you're not going to be able to figure out what was going on. So let me just mention that the slides will be on the web at my web page, and then MBL for memory-based learning. And you can look at the details at your leisure. So here we go. What did I learn by writing this paper? What writing this paper crystallized for me is that there are actually two kinds of reinforcement learning. There's the stochastic version that's sampling based, that we're all very familiar with, and there is a derivative-based version of reinforcement learning that's related to the sort of standard version of optimal control. And most importantly, it doesn't do all of the sampling stuff, so that makes it much more sample efficient. In the paper, I sort of framed it as model-free versus model-based. That was actually the wrong way to frame it, and I'm going to have to rewrite this paper. I believe the right way to frame the dichotomy is you're either sampling-based reinforcement learning or you're derivative-based reinforcement learning. And derivatives get rid of the need to locally explore to figure out what direction to go to make things better. They get rid of the sampling you need to do temporal difference learning. They get rid of the sampling you need to do to take expectations. So it's a total win. One of the arguments that the reinforcement learning folks always apply is, well, you know, the world's stochastic, robots are stochastic, you know, we should be stochastic. I thought I'd present some data from one of the robots I work with. This is a Sarcos humanoid. We basically locked it down and just swung the left knee. And here you see we're driving it with a sinusoid hydraulic valve command. And this is the torque at the joint. It's kind of funky looking. It's got a lot of bumps. This is the velocity, which is mostly sinusoidal. It has high frequency fuzz and slightly lower frequency bumps. And then the position's a very nice clean sinusoid. So the question is, which of the features of this data are repeatable? And the answer is pretty much all of them. This is 10 cycles of the sinusoid sort of aligned in time and then plotted on top of each other. We see in the velocity that the little bumps are duplicated every time. And even you could argue some of the fuzz is duplicated every time. And on the torque curve, each of those funky little bumps is repeated every time. On the right-hand side, we see a zoom out, and the bumps that you can see sort of spread out on the torque trace show up again and again and again on multiple cycles, both highs and lows. And even the little bumps on the velocity trace show up again and again and again. Here, this is roughly a 2 hertz oscillation, and you know, maybe that's 10 seconds worth. Okay, I argue that stochastic commands are bad for you and your robot. I'll just skip all those details and show you some robot snuff porn, where here we ripped apart a structural part of the drivetrain of the knee, or in this case, no, this was a hip accident. And basically driving the system with all these sinusoids basically caused material fatigue and the part just snapped. You don't want to do that to your robot. Here is some more discussion of, well, what about why not do sampling based versus derivative? I'll let you sort of read that at your leisure. And in the paper, I talk about a lot of other things. And, you know, take a look at the paper. If you only have a limited amount of time, there's a first part and a third part that you can read. The second part, where I talk about my early childhood, you know, maybe you want to read about that, maybe you want to skip it. Okay, that's my scoop.